Hello world, it's Birdo Prey 5, Qapla, and welcome to my reaction/review of Star Trek Lower Decks, Episode 4, Moist Vessel. And I get it. The word moist, people think of a certain thing and it makes them laugh. I never really understood why moist is so taboo to many people. I was in school, like high school even, and there was a girl in class reading an article out loud, and she literally couldn't say the word. Like she got to it, and she was like, "Muh, muh." She's like, "In my house, we don't say that word." And I was like, "What?" It was in high school. So what? To myself, obviously, you couldn't say those things out loud, but it's like just say it. It's moist. It's like the word nipple. There's nothing inherently wrong about the word nipple, and there's nothing inherently wrong about the word moist. They're words. Okay, they're words. Get your mind out of the gutter. But let's move on. So the episode starts with its stinger, which previously we've found had absolutely nothing to do with the rest of the episode. And I found that quite unfortunate because this stinger looked pretty interesting. There's this giant generational ship that to me kind of looks a little bit like the ship they found in the Orville. That was episode 3 or 4. The stars open and whatever it's called. Far Beyond the Stars. No, that's Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Son of a bitch. If the stars should appear. There we go. You see, we're not doing this with a script today. No time. So you're getting raw bird, coming right from the brain to the microphone. So it looks like the ship from the Orville episode I just mentioned. And the Cerritos and a second ship that looks almost exactly like the Cerritos pulls up, and the captain is talking about how this other ship is a friend of hers. But basically, this ship, this generational ship, the entire crew is in stasis, and it's got a bunch of this orange goo, and this orange goo is actually basically, for Star Trek fans, the Genesis device in goo form. Like if you get this orange goo on a rock, somebody gets it on their tricorder, the tricorder turns into a plant. If I would assume if it gets on you, you die, because we know what happens to the Genesis effect if it's used on life. So this is basically Genesis as a liquid. The point is, this generational ship was supposed to get to wherever it was going to go, spray this goo on the planet, turn the planet into a living, terraform it. So then they would all presumably have woken up and, beamed down to the planet. But for whatever reason, they don't know why it didn't work. So the Cerritos and the Merced, which is apparently some other town in California that I never heard of, is its sister ship, and they're here to do this. And this is all done in the back. It turns out to be a mission briefing, and the captain of the Merced is a Tellarite who who served with Captain Freeman on the Illinois previously. In the midst of this briefing that's going very serious and seemingly going very well, all of a sudden Ensign Mariner shows up, and she's the one there, and she's handing out pads so that everybody can stay up to what's going on with the show. But why would the captain pick Mariner when she knows Mariner is quote unquote a slacker, and Mariner doesn't fail to disappoint? She's yawning constantly. She's doing her job half-assed. The captain of the other ship is getting quite irritated with her, quite obviously. The captain of the Cerritos, Captain Freeman, is quite irritated with her. So why would she have chosen Mariner when she wants to put her best face forward? In fact, she tells the guy, she's like, "No, my crew's the best of the best." He's like, "I don't know your crew understands that this is how important this mission is." And Mariner doesn't. She doesn't give a shit. She's slacking. She's throwing the pads half-assed and continuing to yawn. Why would Freeman even put herself in this position when she has several other, at least that we know, very talented ensigns that could be doing this? If Boimler was here, he'd be professional. He'd be doing it perfectly. And she should know this. As captain, she should know it. And as mother of Mariner, she should absolutely know that Mariner was the worst choice. Now, is this her as a mother just trying to give another chance, another chance? I honestly don't know. That doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense. But for whatever reason, Mariner's here, and Captain says, "Sorry, did you have trouble sleeping?" Mariner's like, "I slept too good, even." It's bull crap. It's manufactured for reasons that I can't ever understand. Point is, this was just the Stinger, but I was really interested in this generational ship, and I was kind of upset because the Stinger has never yet become part of the rest of the episode. But in this episode, I'm happy to say it does. So the first time in Lower Decks where the Stinger actually is a preview of the episode to come, which for the first time actually made me like it, at least the Stinger. However, before I knew the Stinger was involved with the rest of the episode, I thought it was easily the worst one because I didn't think it was going anywhere, regardless. Okay. We have Mariner and Freeman are talking. She's pissed at Mariner about how she was all, she didn't respect the crew. She didn't have to respect. But the mom is threatening to just blow her out the airlock. I was like, well, you're not going to blow her out the airlock. You know you're not going to do it. I don't understand why they'd even put this scene in. So Ransom comes in. He says he's got the sensor data, and the captain says, "Oh, sensor data." And like, well, why did she repeat what he said? And like, well, they do it because it makes sense later in the episode. So we get a scene where we were pretty sure the captain would just steal ideas these first 3 episodes. Now it's absolutely clear that Captain Freeman literally just steals the ideas of lower crewmen and then passes them off as her own. And Ransom is 100% playing it off, playing into her, knows what she's going to do. And like Ransom gets to me, Ransom kind of gets the last laugh in this episode. So then we find ourselves with the Lower Decks crew. They're getting their assignments. And Ransom told the captain, "Why don't you just give Mariner all the crappiest jobs on the ship, and then it'll be her decision to transfer?" Like, duh. What? Like, it really took your first officer to come up with this plan, but okay. So we're seeing the assignments that are going out, and Boimler's happy with his assignment. He's cleaning the conference room. Tendi is overjoyed with her assignment, which is to watch an ascension. An ascension, exactly what it sounds like from Stargate. She's gonna watch a being ascend. So if this is canon, which I can't believe it is, they're just making that any being can ascend if they just are zen enough. But we'll get to that. So Mariner gets the worst jobs on the ship, which are scraping carbon off of carbon filters, emptying some holodeck nastiness, and lubricating the turbo shafts. So there's actually like 3 or 4 plots in this episode, but it's actually well paced. So the first we see is Tendi goes into this ascension ceremony, and there's a guy doing some oming like a fucking Buddha, but Tendi sees something that distracts her, and she runs over to this giant gong thing, and she knocks it over, and sand goes everywhere. He can't ascend. It took him years to build it, and she's trying to fix it. And this is where I first noticed a bad editing, and I don't usually notice bad editing. So if I noticed it, it's terrible editing. But you see in one scene, there's already sand in the replicator. Then the next scene, there's no sand. She calls for the sand, and then we see the sand get there, and then in the third scene, the sand's there. So they clearly used a scene from after the sand was supposed to be there before the sand had fallen. Does it matter? No. Is it going to affect my rating of the episode? No. But damn, I caught it, which surprised me because I don't usually catch these things. So now we're seeing Mariner do all of her nasty jobs. Of course, she had the turbo lift offline by just having a piece of yellow tape across it. And Lieutenant Shax didn't give a shit. He walked in, and Mariner had to call for emergency stop. Then we see them cleaning the carbon filters. And to be honest, using a phaser to clean the filter would take 2 minutes, but it's her and 2 other people, and they're like finding it boring until they decide to make a bet over who's going to win. And then she's having fun. We see Rutherford. He was watching the tractor beam tolerances or something. He wanted to do the impulse, but then he was happy because the tractor beam is a big part of this episode because they're tractoring this ancient generational ship. And I guess it's not, one ship can't pull it because it's a really big ship. So you need 2 ships. So the Cerritos and the Merced have to synchronize their tractor beams, and they have to be very, very steady as they pull the ship. It's a very important mission, and technically the Merced is the lead ship on this mission. But Rutherford was happy after he got his assignment that, hey, I'm actually doing something important. So Tendi goes over to find the guy who she screwed from being able to ascend and tries to make amends. And she finds some, I don't know, Iberian metronome. It's just this thing that goes back and forth. And she's like, if he just syncs it to his biorhythms, they can ascend by this afternoon. And the guy's just angry and pissed and smashes it and like, I don't want your help. Get the hell out of here. Tendi should take the hint. So on the bridge, Freeman asks Ransom if Mariner submitted her resignation yet. Like, wouldn't Freeman know if Mariner submitted her resignation? And Freeman's like, I'm going to frame it. And Ransom has to tell her the bad news that actually Mariner found ways to inject joy in her menial assignments, and she's actually enjoying herself. And Captain is pissed, and she's trying to find a way to give her a worse job. And we get two bleeps in one sentence. Ransom says he's got her emptying bleep from the holodeck's bleep filter, and everyone on the bridge gets a shocked face, like he said something really bad. Now, I'll be honest, the words I'm thinking, they're bad, but they're not like open up my eyes and bad. But okay, whatever. So after that, Ensign, Jesus Christ, Joe. Freeman, Captain Freeman and Ransom go into her ready room, and apparently Captain Freeman doesn't believe that the holodecks were even used for that. This is shocking to her that people use the holodeck for, we assume we know what people use the holodeck for, but this is news to Captain Freeman. So Captain Freeman is going to figure out what to do to get her to resign. And she looks at Ransom and she's like, I know what she hates. And she tells Mariner to come up to the conference room and commercial break. But what do we get? We get Mariner is going to be promoted. And of course, Boimler is in this conference room cleaning it. This was his assignment that he got earlier. So Boimler's there overhearing what's going on. And, Mariner comes in making some wisecracks and everybody starts laughing with her. She's like, no, I'm not laughing with you. I'm laughing at you. They're like, nope, you're one of us now. So you're going to be laughing with us. And the captain promotes Boimler. Sure, she would. Promotes Mariner on the spot. Gives her an extra pip. And you can tell Mariner is not happy. She's like, what? No, this is the one thing she really hates. And Captain Freeman says, Ensign Bucket, Mariner, I'm pleased to promote you. And she gets her lieutenant pip. But for reasons I don't know why, first officer gives her now a yellow and black uniform, hands it to her. Like, why would she be changing divisions for getting a promotion? Should still be in command, not engineering or security. You just don't change divisions on a promotion. At least I don't think you do. We've never seen it before. It certainly shouldn't be automatic. Like, she's not becoming an engineer. She's not becoming a security chief or security at all. I really don't understand why she's getting a yellow and black uniform. And that's a little weird. Like, for people who know Star Trek, why did they choose to put a different uniform? I honestly think they think the audience is too stupid to realize that that extra pip means she got a promotion. I don't know. Like, there has to be a bigger change. But no, not all lieutenants wear yellow and gold and black. Whatever. She gets the new uniform. And this is another scene with such terrible editing. Yes, I mean, Mariner and the captain are clearly walking to the door in one scene, and then the next scene, they're back in the middle of the room. So I don't understand how this happens. How does it get that bad that even I pick up on the bad editing? Whatever. So the captain forces her to wait through a long and boring meeting where they just talk about office chairs, conference room chairs, whatever. So you can tell that this is really upsetting Mariner. They're purposely going on about minute details that nobody would ever care about, comparing bar stools to chairs, and a bunch of nonsense amongst the senior staff. So Mariner is clearly upset. So why doesn't Mariner just quit? I don't get it. Now we see Mariner in beautiful quarters, and she's being called to do a job, and she's upset. So then we go back to Captain Freeman with the chief engineer, who's talking about how great this discovery is. And the captain of the Merced is right next to her, who's a Tellarite. And Freeman is like, oh, they're going to do a plaque with my name. And the Merced captain does a little, and I'm like, oh, yeah, so your name too, of course. So, yeah, Freeman and the captain of the Merced, whose name I don't remember, they were rivals, I guess, on the Illinois. And so we're going to see that come back. Durango is his name. I should have remembered that. Mariner's getting a whole bunch of busy work. Every time she gets back to her quarters, they call her for something else. And she's sitting through a bunch of stupid talent shows of the crew, of the senior staff. And it's upsetting her. I honestly don't understand what is her point in Starfleet. If she doesn't want to get promoted, why is she there? She gets called to an executive poker game, which is apparently like, I mean, obviously it's a callback to TNG, but if nobody's ever played poker before, why would they call for an executive poker game? None of these people know how to play poker. All they do is fold. I get it that it's trying to upset Mariner, but even Mariner realizes that they never played poker. She's like, you all fold. Every time you all fold. She goes all in. Stark's like, you don't go all in. It's a friendly game. The mother's happy to see Mariner suffering. And then we get a change of scene to Tendi and Rutherford. Tendi is saying that she really wants to help this guy ascend. And she's going nuts over it. And even Rutherford is like, isn't you taking this a bit much? And she's like, no, I'm going to just study more. Rutherford says, I don't think it works like that. And Tendi walks out, and I don't know, Rutherford finds pudding, and it's a cringy scene. So Boimler walks into Mariner's room without even asking. Just the door opens, he walks in, and Boimler's like, you've got everything I ever wanted. How did you get this? And you don't even want it. And Mariner's like, I don't know. I did bad job, and they promoted me. So now Boimler hatches a plan that, so doing a bad job is good. So he's going to purposely do a bad job. We're back at Tendi. She's trying to help this guy ascend while he's on duty. And he's like, don't you work? He's like, I'm using vacation time. She's using vacation time to help him ascend. And he's like, don't come near me. You're the villain, not the hero. And that really, really hurts Tendi's feelings. She says that she brought over some moths that she said are used by the Temerians, which was a cool callback. The Temerians are the TNG race from the famous episode Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra, those guys. So she brought some moths from their race. She said those help with them ascending. So apparently that race can ascend. She starts sprouting off about aligning his chakra and doing Reiki on him. But this whole thing is nonsense that we've never seen a normal person, a normal race just ascend. There was some funny that Rutherford said, "Oh, ascend like a Q or the Traveler," and she's like, "No, no, ascending is like studying for a test so hard you actually become the test." That was a decent, I guess, explanation of ascension as any. But I don't like ascension in the Star Trek universe. But like this is a cartoon, so is it even in the universe? I don't know. So then Boimler gets called to bridge duty, and he's talking evilly, and the bridge overhears him, and he just says, "Oh, I'm in the holodeck." It was Moriarty who said that. Professor Moriarty from TNG holodeck episodes. So Freeman calls Mariner into the captain's room. I don't know what this is. A room. She's asking Mariner if she's ready to quit yet or change ships. And Mariner realizes now what was going on, that this was all on purpose to get her to quit. And the captain says she has to mandatory attend Ransom's birthday party. He's going to do 4 hours of acoustic guitar songs that he wrote, and they're all about the 1 month he spends in Barcelona. So that was actually a little funny because you know exactly what it's going to be about. So Mariner and Freeman are arguing, and Mariner's like, "I know what you're trying to do," and Freeman's like, "Yep, it's called being a captain." And Mariner says, "No, it's being a dick." And they didn't bleep out that, but okay, that's fine. I mean, it's a name. You don't have to bleep it out. But when they bleeped out the holodeck jizz filter, I figured they would have bleeped out dick, but I guess not. Dick, moist, nipple, whatever. All words, just words. Okay, so we get a scene. The Cerritos and the Merced, both with their tractor beams towing this giant ship, which is pretty cool scene. Star Trek scenes go. It's believable. But what's not believable is then we go in to the Merced, and we see on their view screen that the captain is got a picture. For whatever reason, the view screen has like a blueprint of the generational ship, which I get. But for whatever reason, there's a big picture of the other captain, of Captain Freeman, on the Merced, on Durango's ship. And he's just looking at at Freeman's picture, and he's mad. You can tell there's a rivalry. So he decides to give a stupid order, and he wants to see if there's any vibrations, and everything's going perfectly good. So he decides to be moved closer to the generational ship, and he's told, "Nope, that's a bad idea." He said, "I don't care, do it anyway." So of course they go closer to the ship. Now the tractor beam is twice as strong, and it's starting to pull pieces off of the ship. Now the Cerritos Ransom is on duty. He gets told that the Merced has moved out of position, so he calls up the Merced and puts them on screen. And we can see on the Cerritos that they've got a picture of Durango on their screen. So I don't know why. Is it just default Star Trek, Starfleet screensaver type stuff? What's on the view screen when you're not looking at the stars? You just see the other captain of the other ship. Whatever. They pull up Durango on the view screen, and he's like, you're out of position. Move back." And of course, Durango is like, "This is my mission. I make the decisions." And he's like, I don't have to explain myself. It's his mission. So fine, whatever. But of course, as soon as they do that, a piece comes falling off the generational ship, and the orange goo comes spilling out of the ship, and the tractor beam sucks it up, and it gets sucked right onto the Merced. And the Merced gets covered, and you see rocks and crystals and stuff all growing out of the Merced. And of course, Ransom doesn't shut off his tractor beam, so it gets sucked to the Cerritos as well, though not quite as bad. But the Cerritos also starts getting covered in orange goo, and the entire ship starts transforming into rocks and plants and crystals and all types of things. Now, while this is happening, Freeman and Mariner are still in, I believe, the captain's quarters, and arguing over, her position. And then they realize, okay, there's been a disaster. In the middle of Ransom giving an update to the captain, Boimler is on the bridge, and his plan was to be evil. So he takes the time to spill hot coffee on Commander Ransom's lap. Whatever. This is probably the dumbest scene of the episode, and it goes nowhere. There's no payoff. There's no discipline. Boimler is just Boimler, and it seems like everybody forgot he did this, which fine. I mean, the whole ship is about to be destroyed, so it's really not too surprising. Like, probably people didn't even realize that he was being evil because the ship is shaking and everything when he does this. Whatever. So the ship is detecting environmental irregularities. Emergency force fields are saving people, but Mariner has already. She's like, did you feel that the pressure's dropped and blah, blah, blah. She saves her mother from being encapsulated by some rocks. There's like ice crystals. There's waterfalls forming in the ship. Now, am I mad at this? Because none of this should be from, or a liquid that turns inorganic material into organic. No, but yes, I'm upset. But no, because the Genesis device, which was described exactly the same way, also created oceans and rocks and stuff that you would never expect it to create. So Tendi and the guy who was supposed to ascend are getting stuck in engineering, and it's turning into an ocean. So the water is getting higher and higher, corals growing up around them. And Tendi's like, I just wanted you to like me. And the guy's like, oh, what? I just wanted to be like too. And like, okay, then they step on this like fish creature that turns into a bomb. And Tendi swims him to safety. He's like, I want to tell you before we die, I was faking. I was never going to ascend. He was just wanted to be known as a guy. So he wanted to be known as the Ascension guy. He purposely brought Tendi over because he knew she would screw up for some reason, and that he was a jerk for calling her to his ascension ceremony because he knew some way she was going to screw it up. So instead they become best friends because they were both lying. But what did Tendi lie about? Tendi didn't lie, but Tendi says we were both lying, so we're both friends now. Tendi, I don't think you actually lied about anything, but whatever. So they're hugging, their friends. We go to Mariner and Freeman. They're using rocks to smash through rocks, and we get, like, I don't know, 2 minutes of cringy dialogue of the mother trying to tell her to use a different rock. Like, they probably could have did this scene in 10 seconds, but it's Mariner and the mother arguing back and forth about every little thing. And of course, Mariner gets to the end of it and she breaks through, and there's this big waterfall with vines, and now they got to rappel down the vines. And the mother now tells her that she's going too fast after saying that she wasn't going fast enough. Blah, 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 blah. The mother's like, grip with both hands, and Mariner's getting fed up. And she's like, just stop. I'm good at this. I'm good at this. Why is every episode Mariner has to say how good she is at something? So last week was the one episode Mariner really got what was coming to her. This episode, not so much. We're back to Mariner being, I don't know if she necessarily, yeah, she is. She's the hero. She's the hero of every episode. Mariner uses her mother's first name. Apparently, it's Carol. So Captain Carol Freeman. It really pisses Carol off. I mean, Captain Freeman. So we get back to the Tendi storyline, and they were about to run out of air, and Tendi uses one of those bomb fish to blow out a hole in the side of engineering, and all the water drains out, and the guy and Tendi laugh because they're survived, and a rock is about to fall on Tendi, and the guy pushes Tendi out of the way, and he's crushed by the rock, and he's like, he knows he's going to die. He tells her she's got to leave. She's got to save herself. He said he did this for her, and Tendi is screaming, "No!" So then we get back to Mariner and Freeman. They come out of a Jeffries tube. They find a room that's been not destroyed in any way. The systems are online, and so they get a status report. And somehow Mariner knows exactly what to do. They have to release parazine gas. Now, not anesthetine gas. This is parazine gas with some radiation from the deflector, and it will somehow reverse everything. And the captain's like, "That's exactly what I was going to say." So captain's like, "You read my mission report, didn't you?" And they have like a mother-daughter bonding moment. And like Mariner's like, "I didn't want her." He's like, "I read it a little, but just to make fun of it." Whatever. So the captain says, "Computer, hit it." So like the computer has been listening the whole time to what Mariner was saying, and hit it is all she needs to say to do what it has to do. Whatever. It's a cartoon. They flood the decks with this gas, and everything starts immediately disappearing. Now, all the hull breaches, all the rocks that were cutting through bulkheads, I don't know what happens to them. You would think the whole ship would just fly apart at this point, but no, really just everything dissolves into orange goo again, and everybody's safe and all is well on the Cerritos. And we're at Tendi and her friend, but her friend, the rock dissolves off of the friend, and he was so ready to die. And now Tendi and they each saved each other's lives, and they start kissing. And as they start kissing, the guy actually starts ascending. And it's kind of funny. It's a really good scene. This is probably my favorite scene of the episode. He pretended to be finding himself for so long, he actually did ascend. And then he realized that ascending is actually a very painful process. He's burning. He's in a lot of pain. His body is being pulled. He's shouting out lines. Some of it is like from when Tom Paris went warp 10, that he can see everything. He can see, and then he starts seeing through time. He sees Abraham Lincoln. His whole body is being smacked around. He's like, time has no meaning. A bird forms around him. He can see. He's becoming a being of pure energy. This is the funniest part. He's like, the universe is balanced on the back of a giant koala. Why is he smiling? What does he know? And he's being pulled to this giant koala in space, and he's just about to blurt out what the secret of life is when he disappears into pure energy, and only his boots fall. Okay, whatever. Tendi waves him off. She's like, "Sorry I helped, but good luck on being everything." So Freeman and Mariner talk to Ransom, and they find out that the Merced life support is critical because they had a lot more exposure. And they basically, Mariner says they're going to need a whole new ship. And the mother says, or a very old ship. And what they do is just beam everybody from the Merced onto the giant generational ship. And so the mother thinks that's funny for some reason, that the giving Captain Durango on an old dusty ship, and everybody's safe. Nobody died. He said Durango will be right at home with some dusty old mummies. And okay, mission done. Apparently everybody's safe, and the Freeman and Mariner hug because of successful mission. And then they realize that was awkward. Then we see, God damn it, I hate it. I hate this. Why are there still leaf blowers in the future? Leaf blowers, the bane of my existence. The crew is walking around the Cerritos with leaf blowers. just blowing the orange goo away. Like, where does it go? Are they hiding it in vents? I don't know. A leaf blower is not going to save you from the orange goo. You need to be wiping it up. Whatever, fucking leaf blowers. I hate the leaf blowers. These futuristic leaf blowers, they still make too much noise. Goddamn leaf blowers. But why they're using leaf blowers, I have no idea. Okay, so Captain Freeman and Mariner are standing together in a conference room, and we get a call that some admiral's on his way. And Freeman is really proud of her daughter, so good for her. She gets a couple of good minutes, and she says, "Mariner, you know, you did really good work. Maybe you really can be part of the senior crew." And you can tell Mariner is still not happy at this, so she has to find a way to get demoted quickly. And of course, an admiral with a speech impediment comes in. And long story short, by the end of the episode, she is demoted back because she makes fun of the way the guy talks. And the whole reason the captain had to say sensors at the beginning of the episode was to show us that she really does say sensors like sensors and not sensors like this admiral says sensors. So that is a little callback to the beginning of the episode. And basically, the episode ends with Mariner back at the lower decks, and Tendi and Rutherford. Tendi tried to say that maybe she doesn't need to have everybody love her on the ship. And Rutherford's like, that's good because there's probably a few people who don't. And then Tendi is like, tell me who doesn't like me, and jumps on Rutherford and starts beating him up, while Boimler and Mariner talk about, you know, how she got promoted and had everything he ever dreamed of. He's like, why are we even friends? And Mariner's like, oh, maybe because I kept the access card for the replicators, because apparently the upper decks people get better replicators than the lower decks, which makes no sense. Okay, they use the same holodeck. They use they go to 10 forward or whatever their version 10 forward is. Why would they have different replicators? It makes zero sense. But in this universe, the upper decks get better food from the better replicators. So now that Mariner has the access card, Boimler's so happy he takes the access card, and he's going to go order some, I don't know, whatever the hell he said, some fancy dish. Macaroni cheese. Earlier in the episode, he mentioned some fritters and noci, or whatever the fuck the word is. I can't pronounce it, with a Gnocci. I don't know. But this time he just wants the macaroni and cheese with the crust on top. And that's it. That's the end of the episode. It had 4 plots. I count 4 plots. I'd say the A plot was the generational ship thing. The B plot was Mariner trying to get Mariner to quit. The C plot was Tendi and the Ascension guy, and the D plot was Boimler going off on his own little tangent, trying to fail his way up like he saw Mariner do. And to be honest, this was the most Trek-like of any Lower Decks episode we've seen so far. The humor is different in this episode. They're not just jokes for the sake of being jokes. And again, the very worst part, like the first 2 episodes, the worst part of these episodes is Ensign Mariner. If Ensign Mariner wasn't in this episode, this would be a damn good episode. This could easily be a 7 or 8 without Ensign Mariner, but it defies all logic that she would even be allowed on the ship, and much less, why would the captain pick her for important duties when it's her reputation on the line? They just force her into so many scenes where it would make no sense for her to ever be there. Like, fine, if the captain doesn't want her on the ship, well, don't assign her to anything. Just let her sit around down in lower decks and twiddle her thumbs or whatever she's going to do. You don't assign her to come up and meet, the captain that you're biggest rivals with, just so she can do something to embarrass you. It makes no sense. But I have to give credit where credit is due. The plot of this, the story, it's very Trek-ish. I gotta say, this is the first time that this episode would have worked as like a next gen or a Voyager episode, even an Enterprise episode. If you just change the characters, the plot works as a Star Trek episode. Never happened before. I mean, there's only been 3 episodes before it, but none of those would have worked out well as a true 1-hour Trek episode. This one could have done it. So it was interesting. The joke telling was better, but Mariner still just, I get sick every time I see her. It upsets me. And yes, am I being intentionally mean on the score? I think I am. But that's because they're being intentionally mean to me, pushing Mariner in the way of everything, putting her front and center when she deserves none of it. She deserves none of it. So yeah, I'm going to be a little mean. I will give it a little bit better score than last week, which I gave a 5.5. We will give it a 5.75. Probably the best episode to date, but still way too much Mariner. Had they combined elements of last week's and this week's, you really could have gotten a much better show. And yeah, I don't make up any apologies. I'm sorry if you liked it a lot better. Good for you. I'm happy for you. If you hated it, I get it. I don't think it's terrible. Okay. I think back to Discovery season 1. If you've never seen Discovery, even Lower Decks is the worst Star Trek series you've ever seen, I suppose. If you've never watched Discovery, yeah. If you think Lower Decks is the worst Trek you've ever seen, it just means you haven't seen all Trek, because it gets a lot worse. That's not to say that it's good. That's not the way somebody should produce a show, to just say, oh, it's better than complete trash. But listen, truth is truth, and it is definitely better than Discovery. That's all I can really say. I also think it's better than Picard, although I personally enjoyed the first couple episodes of Picard. This it started to fall apart. This series probably won't, because it's not serialized, it's episodic, so it'd be very difficult for it to ruin itself as the series moves on. But you know what? I've seen Trek do such terrible things. Who's to say what's going to happen? So that's the rating, 5.75 out of 10. I hope you enjoyed this. I am sorry it's not scripted like it normally is. Let me know what you think of the format. It's longer. I know this is a longer review. Let me know what you think. Do you prefer the scripted version? Leave a note in the comments. Please remember to comment, like, subscribe, hit that bell icon, because I don't think a lot of people are getting notified anymore. And that's it. Qapla, bird out.